I am Jonathon Knight. This is B-Movie Madness. The next movie we're going to talk about, let's consult this rash pen. Wicked Games, Truth or Dare, Part 2. Now, Wicked Games, Truth or Dare, Part 2 involves a man named Gary who, much like Mike Strawberry in the first movie, catches his wife cheating on him. Gary, much like Mike, is distraught, so he goes to his friend's house to consult him about the situation. The friend is worried about him because we find out that Gary is related to Mike Strawberry, and the friend is worried that because of the situations are similar, that Gary's going to put on a copper mask and go on a killing spree, much like his cousin Mike. Wicked Games was filmed 8 years after the first movie, which is a long time for a sequel like this to be filmed after the original. And during that time, Tim Ritter had much less money to work with. So, unlike the first movie, which was shot on film, this one was shot on video. If you've seen some shot on video movies, you know they look cheap. Really, really cheap. And I love shot on video movies. You know, Video Violence 2, Hollywood Mortuary, Redneck Zombies. I love shot on video movies, but it's really hard to get somebody into a shot on video movie. You know, get someone to watch one. I had a friend watch Redneck Zombies, and he just hated it. And if someone couldn't get into the first Truth or Dare, they definitely would not like Wicked Games. And because it was made with less money, it's a much smaller movie. There's no car chases, there's no explosions, it's much smaller in scope. But it makes up for it in two areas. One area, and I talked about this in my first review for Truth or Dare, is the mask is so much fucking better than the first movie. This is what the mask in this movie is what I envisioned when I watched the first movie. This is the one I wanted to see in the first movie. Mask is so fucking cool. Can't remember the guy's name for the guy that made it, but he's gone on to work on stuff like Pirates of the Caribbean and all that. So, and you could tell because the mask is really cool looking. I think it looks awesome. And they used it for the rest of the series. The next two movies, they used that mask instead of go back to the original one. And the other area this movie excels at is the kills are really well done. I mean, they're not amazing. You know, there's one kill in particular where you can tell the knife that they're using is one of those retractable knives that you can get in Halloween shops. It's extremely obvious. But the rest of that's good. A girl gets strangled with barbed wire. A guy gets his head cut off. Guy gets a beer can shoved in his throat. And my favorite one is a woman gets impaled on a sprinkler, and the sprinkler comes on and shoots out blood. And I love it. Love it. I think the kills are great. I think they're some of the best kills I've seen in a shot on video movie. Not the absolute best, but some of the best. I think that's what the two areas the movies work the most, is the mask and the kills. So it works for the villain and works for the kill. Another area, I mentioned two areas, but there's one other thing it works with, is there's two twists in the movie. The first twist, if you're paying attention, is really, really obvious. But the second twist is actually really well done. And if you just watch this one and you haven't seen the first movie, you're going to be really confused by the twist, because I think you have to have a knowledge of the first movie to you know, figure out the twist of this one. And I hadn't seen the first one in a long time when I watched this one, so I was like, huh? And then somebody explained it to me on YouTube, and I went back and watched the first movie, and the twist is really well done. And usually you don't see that much effort put in a shot on video movie, because it's just about the kills. And this movie, like I said, has good kills. The acting is bad. I think Joel Wynkoop, who plays, I believe, Dr. Hess in the movie, he's the best actor in this. The other actors are actually kind of bad. They're pretty bad. But the movie works because it has a great killer, some cool kills, and a nice twist ending. Unfortunately, the shot on video look kind of, you know, makes it a lesser movie than the first movie, because it looks less polished. The first movie is actually, like I said, is really rough looking, but this even looks even rougher because it's shot on video. But it's not a bad sequel, considering it was made for much less money, and it was made 8 years later. It's not bad. The first one is better. I think the first one is better, but one thing, like I said, this movie does better than that is The Mask. And I do think the kills are better in this one than in the first movie. But I think the first movie overall as a movie is better. This isn't bad though. Like I said, Wicked Games is a fun shot-on-video movie. If you like shot-on-video horror movies, I do recommend it. If you don't like them, I suggest avoiding this like the fucking plague, because this is not going to be your movie at all. I think people really dig, people who like shot-on-video really dig this. And if you enjoyed the first movie, I think you'll enjoy this one. The acting is bad in both the first and second movie, so it's really I think the acting is just the same. But I do think John Brace in the first movie is better than anybody in the second movie. If you like Truth or Dare, and if you like shot-on-video horror movies, I highly recommend checking out Wicked Games, Truth or Dare Part 2. I'm Jonathon Knight, and thanks for watching B Movie Madness.